This video I just want to share my perspective about carrying a firearm without one bullet in the chamber. I just want to share my perspective on it. I was kind of motivated to make this video because I saw 3 videos talking about it, and all 3 videos that I did see, the people were not recommending it, and they were pretty much heavily speaking against doing that. And for me, I want to give another perspective, like my own perspective, outside of that, based on my experiences. And everybody's experiences is going to be different, but based on my experiences being a former police officer and obviously carrying on duty with one in the chamber, obviously living my whole, a lot of years of my life without carrying a gun at all before being a police officer, and then being a police officer carrying a gun on duty with one in the chamber, and then also off duty carrying one in the chamber, and then exiting the law enforcement, and then eventually getting the concealed carry, and then carrying it, without one in the chamber, and then with one in the chamber. So one thing that I want to mention is that in law enforcement, nobody would ever teach to not have one in the chamber. Like it's pretty much mandatory to have a bullet in the chamber. But it was through my own discovery and my own revelation to basically come about a safer method of carrying, a firearm concealed without one in the chamber. And that was kind of through my own understanding and my own discovery. Nobody told me, advised me, hey, it's dangerous, you should, not have one in the chamber. And I'm not going to reveal whether or not I do have one in the chamber when I carry, or if I don't, because I think that's an important aspect. Is because you want to basically make the person that is a threat, or whoever, make them always feel that there is one in the chamber. You don't want to ever give them the idea that, oh, there's not one in the chamber. You want to pretty much make it perceived that it is always loaded. But I just want to go over some of the things that I say are the benefits of not having one in the chamber, and then some of the disadvantages and benefits of having one in the chamber. Obviously, having one in the chamber, it is a quicker response, obviously. But I've done a lot of, scenarios and basically tests where you have one person against another person that has one in the chamber, and you both have one in the chamber, and you just draw on fire at the same time, and pretty much like almost every time you end up shooting each other and killing each other. It happens so dynamic. But my thing is, the reason why my train of thought of, based on my experiences in training, like, I'd rather handle a situation without involving the gun at all. Like, the gun is like the absolute last resort. Like, if it's like a one-on-one situation, I want to be able to handle that situation without having to draw my firearm. That's why I do a lot of training in unarmed combatives, is because I want to handle the situation without using any weapons. Now, if the person ends up, pulling out a baton, then there might be a situation where I draw my firearm, and then I could rack it back if there's not one in the chamber and just have it ready. And I'm sure that I will have enough time to do that, or another weapon. Say it's even a knife. If they just displayed the knife but they didn't lunge at me, then I have time to draw my firearm, display my firearm, and put one in the chamber as well. I feel that I would have enough time for that. But if somebody's lunging at me with a knife or trying to stab at me, I wouldn't even draw my firearm at that moment. I would attempt to disarm the individual due to the techniques that I've been training in, with my unarmed combatives, to be able to try to disarm the individual before getting the gun involved, because I know how dangerous a knife attack is in close range. No matter if there's one in the chamber or not, the chances of you getting stabbed is pretty high up there. You got to handle the situation with your tactics, your unarmed tactics. But my main reason of wanting to carry, concealed, is mainly dealing with situations where there's like a mass murder, where, you know, the situation that happened at Virginia Tech, where the person's just, executing a bunch of people, and then you running to get cover, and then getting the gun ready, chambering it, and shooting back. That's the main thing that I would have the gun ready for. Or I'm in the grocery store, and all of a sudden I hear gunshots, and then the person's killing people around me. So then I would grab cover, get the gun out, chamber it, and then have it ready. I feel like the gun would be in those situations, not in situations where somebody has a gun and is doing an armed robbery on me, demanding my wallet. He already has a gun pointed at me. Regardless of whether or not I have one in the chamber or not, it would not be a good idea to draw and fire, because he already has a gun drawn out on me, and he's going to be able to shoot me first anyway. So the best thing would be just to give him my wallet and just basically try not to escalate the situation. And having kids, I have 5 kids, and the ease of pulling the trigger is just way too easy. You know what I mean? And just the thought of me leaving the gun around and having somebody else, like a child or whoever, or even an adult, pull the trigger and kill somebody, kill themselves, that's a huge risk that I wouldn't want to take. It's just like, I feel that there's just a lot of accidental gunfire out there. These guns are very sensitive. Especially when you're depending on the gun you're dealing with. If you have a gun that has pretty much no safety feature, like these Glocks, it's almost like pulling one in the chamber, or not having one in the chamber becomes the safety. You basically just have to rack it. That becomes the safety. It's a very reliable safety, because you have to really put some effort to rack it back. And a child's typically not going to be able to rack a gun like that. Even a lot of adults can't do it right. So a child, it becomes safer when there's children around, and it's an extra safety, But when you got a gun like a Beretta, where there's an actual safety on there, then it's safer to have one in the chamber, if you wanted to have one in the chamber, because you got that safety, And telling somebody that they're stupid to not have one in the chamber, to me, it's almost like telling somebody that they're stupid to have their gun on safety. Because when you have your gun on safety, you have to take it off safety before you can shoot it, even if there is one in the chamber. And you got to train your muscle memory to be able to do that during situations of great danger. And it's the same thing with not having one in the chamber. I mean, if you have a Glock that's very sensitive, which all Glocks are, you don't have one in the chamber, you rack it back, it's ready, that becomes a safety. The rack back becomes a safety. But the Beretta, you could just, put the safety down and it's ready to shoot. But the thing is, there's also other safety measures with certain guns where it's a double action, it's a long trigger pull. Like, you got to put a lot of pressure onto the trigger to actually have it fire. That also becomes a safety measure as well. But that, in a way, cuts, it increases the reaction time. So, but these are all safety ways. They got the safety, you got the longer trigger pull. So it's like saying, hey, saying that people that use the safety, people that have a long trigger pull, that these people should not be carrying guns because they don't know what they're doing, is absolutely ridiculous. Because to me, these safeties are there for a reason. Even Glock has a mini safety on the trigger. It's like saying that people that have Glocks, because they get that mini safety, it's not tactical because it takes too long. It's just like, like, every gun is going to be designed differently. And the Glocks, because it is so quick to shoot, because when you shoot a Glock, you can literally just shoot all 15 rounds in a matter of like a few seconds. That's how quick it shoots. Compared to like a revolver, where every single shot is a long trigger pull, and it's going to take you, quite a long time to get all 6 shots off. So every gun is built differently, and guns that are slower to shoot, they could be safer to carry with one in the chamber, because it's already has a built-in safety mechanism that's pretty reliable. But for Glocks, they don't really have a reliable safety mechanism. It's pretty much like a gun that's just, once you put one in the chamber, it's already like so ready to shoot. It's almost becomes like an explosive, you know. And to me, like, it really depends on what type of gun that you have, whether or not, you know, you feel comfortable having one in the chamber. But you know, I could say it depends on your lifestyle. You know, police officers, they're on duty, they're always encountering strangers, and they're dealing with threats, you know, on a day-to-day basis. While on duty, you know, it's mandatory that they have one in the chamber. And, you know, that's the nature of their occupation. But the thing is, though, and there's going to be a lot of information that's hidden, but there's a lot of officers out there that have accidental fires. And officers are more trained than the average citizen. So if you're telling an average citizen to have one in the chamber like he's an officer when he isn't, then you're increasing the chances of accidental fire, opposed to advising people to not have one in the chamber, because they're not even trained as much as officers, and even officers do not receive that much training. Officers maybe shoot like once a year because it's expensive. They got to have all the officers shoot. They got to make time for it, and a lot of times, you know, they only maybe shoot once a year, twice a year. That's not that much training, you know, and they're not going to have that much tactical training either, because they're so busy working all these different shifts, and they're tired, and they don't have that much training. They have more training than the average citizen, but they're not like the elite people out there that train all the time. And there's a lot of accidental fires. There's a lot of officers that are just as scared to enter into the gunfight than somebody that's never touched a gun before. So the thing is, you know, having one in the chamber is a very risky situation, because of the accidental fires, the incompetency, and just, you know, having the gun laying around, like you take the gun off because, you know, you need to go to the bathroom, or you failed to lock up the gun properly, or you forgot to lock up the gun, or you left your key around and somebody found the key and to the safe, and then they were able to open the safe, and now they have access to a gun that's loaded already with one in the chamber. I mean, there's so many things that could go wrong. I mean, just not too long ago, there's somebody who left the gun on top of his fridge, and then obviously there's one in the chamber. His little son got a hold of the gun and then killed his brother. Another story, you know, happened not too long ago. A mother has her child and pushing him in a cart, like a 2-year-old child. She has her loaded gun with one in the chamber inside the purse, and then the child gets a hold of the gun, shoots and kills the mother. I mean, there's like constantly stories like this, constantly. And it's all it takes is just, this is all you got to do. And then somebody dies. You know, but if you don't have one in the chamber, the child or whoever gets a hold of the gun, they have to rack it back, and they're not going to have the strength to do that. And that mother would have lived. That child would have lived in those specific instances. You know, and, you know, officers are required to have one in the chamber. That's the nature of their job. But the day-to-day average citizen, they're not living their lives like officers. They don't do traffic stops. So they don't need to like have one in the chamber at all times, as if they're living in a place where their life is at risk every single day of their life. You know, that's my, you know, the way that I see it. You know what I mean? Now you could have one in the chamber, but you're taking certain risks, you know, certain safety risks, and you need to be aware of that and prepared for that. But everybody's going to be different. You know, some people want to have one in the chamber. Maybe you don't have one in the chamber normally, but then you're going into an area where it's kind of sketchy, and then you put one in the chamber and holster it back up and just be more and higher alert. You know, that's something else that people could do. Certain places they go to, there's one in the chamber. Other places, there's not one in the chamber, because it's a lower threat level. It's just like the difference between, hey, I got this gun, and when I'm gonna sleep with the gun, with one in the chamber, with my hand on the gun while I'm sleeping under my pillow in case something happens. It's like that's way too much paranoia. It's like, well, you can't trust your wife, you can't trust your children, you gotta have the gun with you even when you're sleeping. You know what I mean? And it's by law that we have to be concealed. So the concealment is already making the draw time like super slower, like much slower. So already the law is imposing us to be like slower with our response. And then also the law says, hey, you're not allowed to have the gun in this train. You're not allowed to have this gun in the bus. You're not allowed to have this gun at the bar. You're not allowed to have this gun in school. So the law is saying you can't have all these guns in all these different places. So if you're so concerned about your life, about having one in the chamber at all times, then why not just carry no matter where you go without consideration of the law? Because you're so worried that something will happen, that you need one in the chamber at all times, then why not just disregard the law and just carry wherever you want to carry? Right? But then you start getting yourself in a sticky situation there, because now the police might search you for whatever reason. They find the gun on you when you're not supposed to have the gun. And the next thing you know, you get locked up. And there's other stories where somebody has a gun, he's at Walmart, a customer sees the guns, or one of the associates sees the gun and says, you're not supposed to have that here. He's like, yeah, I am. I have concealed carry. So he keeps shopping. Then the guy calls the police. The police show up, shoot and kill the guy with the gun. So that's another scenario. If the person didn't carry the gun, he would have lived. But because he carried the gun, somebody saw the gun, they call the police shoot and kill him. So carrying a gun in itself, no matter if it's one in the chamber or not, it's a high risk level. The police might shoot you. Some stranger might see the gun and call the police, and now the police are all over you. It increases your chances of getting arrested. It increases your chances of the police shooting and killing you. There's a lot of risks involved. A kid could get a hold of the gun and shoot and kill you, or shoot and kill himself. One in the chamber, all it takes is just this. You're having a bad day, increases the chances of suicide. That's another fact that's hidden from society, is that the officers have like the highest suicide rates. Well, they're easy access. They always have guns around them. One in the chamber, they get a little upset, shoot and kill themselves. So, it's not necessarily a benefit to have one in the chamber at all times and to always be high alert as if you're an officer when you're not. If you're not an officer, you're a citizen and you're carrying concealed, not having one in the chamber could be one of the most intelligent things that you do. It's just one of a very safe method of concealment, and basically to reassure that, hey, I'm in a dangerous situation now. Let me get it off safety. Boom. That's all it takes. That's how quick it is. Get off safety. Boom. And then now you're ready. Just like any other, Beretta, take it off safety. You gotta put it down. Take it off safety. So the people out there that are criticizing the people for not having one in the chamber, that they're incompetent, that they don't know what they're doing, that they shouldn't be carrying guns, these individuals, it's like basically saying, it's like basically advising somebody not to put on their seatbelt, because the car might explode and you won't have time to get out the car because you're strapped onto your seatbelt. And even a seatbelt in itself, it is going to make it longer to draw out your gun if you needed to. So these people are talking about, have one in the chamber because something could happen. Well, you have the seatbelt on, that's holding you back. It's concealed, that's holding you back. There's a lot of different variables of a lot of different things that are holding you back from drawing that gun out quicker than you can. It's not just about having one in the chamber and then all of a sudden, okay, I'm so fast now that I can take care of any situation. And that if you don't have one in the chamber, you're decrease your chance of survival because you're like half a second slower than you could have been. You know what I mean? There's gonna be a debate about it, but I'm just saying, I'm just drawing out the positives of not having one in the chamber. You obviously know the negatives of not having one in the chamber. It's just a slower response. That's what it is. But there's a bunch of positives of not having one in the chamber. A lot of them. And then there's a huge list of reasons of why it's not good to have one, not good to have one in the chamber. And then there's obviously the positives of having one in the chamber. It's a quicker response. But it's like trying to say, hey, a double action gun is worthless because you just shouldn't even have a double action gun because that first trigger pull just takes too long. It's not like these single action guns like the Glock. You shouldn't even carry a double action gun. Just don't even have it. It's worthless. That's absolutely ridiculous. A statement to make where it's like some people feel safer with a double action. And the Glock is so well built, so efficient that not having one in the chamber for a Glock, specifically for a Glock, is an added safety precaution. Now, I could understand an individual that has a Beretta that already has a safety mechanism on the Beretta. In addition, it's a double action on the first trigger pull. That's already, you got the safety, you got a double action. That's already like safety built into the gun where you can carry the gun with one in the chamber and it's still safe. But with a Glock, it is not like that. A Glock is just ready to go. There's pretty much no safety in a Glock. Just boom, that's it. You ended somebody's life. And we gotta be aware. I mean, you shoot somebody that you're not supposed to shoot, you kill somebody you're not supposed to kill, you're talking about lifetime in prison right there. You're talking about one accidental fire. Just like another story, just recent. 18-year-old was cleaning his rifle or a shotgun, and then accidental fire, shoots and kills like a 6-month-old child. Now he's in jail, probably in jail for life. You'll find hundreds, if not thousands of articles about accidental fires out there. And how many will you actually find about somebody, a regular citizen, that takes out a criminal justified? Not something where he basically executed somebody because he was just in fear, and then he just basically took the person's life because he was just you're not going to find that many. You're going to find more about the accidental fires. I feel that when you train in the martial arts, it's even more important that you get the skills required to handle a situation without dealing with any weapons unless absolutely necessary. So, you handle the situation. He has no weapons, you have no weapons. You handle it. There's no need to have any weapons. Alright, you're in a situation, he draws out a knife, you draw out a knife. He draws out a baton, you draw out a baton. He draws out a gun, you draw out a gun. It's just like an equal playing field according to that situation. That's how you want to handle it. But it's just think about it just like this. Killing somebody just like that is extremely serious situation. And in addition, just knowing that you have to be on point of where you shoot, because there's other stories where there's an armed robbery going on at a restaurant, and then undercover cop is there, or off-duty cop, and then also draws out, shoots, ends up killing the armed robber, but then it also ends up killing like a child in the back as well, and dealing with that. That happens. And another story where um, off-duty officer sees his somebody stealing something from his car, then he starts chasing after the guy with his gun drawn, and then another uniformed officer sees the guy running after the guy with a gun, and then he shoots and kills the off-duty cop, you know, not knowing that he was a cop. That happened too. There's a lot of things that happen, a lot of things where it's just like, you know, so that's why a lot of people, they just decide, you know what, I'm just not going to carry at all. I'll just deal with life struggles without the need of using a firearm at all. And then there's the people that say, okay, I'll have a gun, but it's only going to be for the home. I'm never going to take it out the home. And then there's the people, okay, I'm going to carry concealed, but there won't be one in the chamber because I want to have that extra safety. And then there's the people, okay, I'm going to carry concealed and I'm going to have one in the chamber because I feel an immediate threat that I will need to potentially handle, and I need to be on top of it. But there's just a lot of decisions, and nobody can really make that decision for you. But I basically want to make this video to highlight the importance of safety. You know, for yourself, for your children, for your family, for your loved ones. There's so many accidental fires. And not just accidental fires, but just people committing suicide with guns, that we need to be very, very aware of that. That it's not just the criminal that's trying to kill us, but also our irresponsibility that ends up taking our lives, taking somebody's life that we love, or even landing us in jail for the rest of our lives. And we need to make the right decision. Now, I'm not going to say what I do because I don't want to put it out there like that. I don't want people to think that, hey, you know, he doesn't carry one in the chamber, or he carries one in the chamber, or he has concealed carry, or he doesn't have. I want people to know nothing. I want people to think that I don't even have a gun, you know, that I don't even carry one. Or they could think that I carry one. They could think that there's one in the chamber. They could think that there's not one in the chamber. They could think whatever they want. Keep it mysterious. That's a good thing, to leave that mystery. But basically, I just want to get people to see the huge benefits of not having one in the chamber. This is coming from my experiences, you know. And as I stated, think about the function of a seatbelt, you know, and how it protects us. But then in other situations, it could put our lives at jeopardy because the car might be on fire, or the car went over into the river or into the ocean, and now we got to get out quick. But then there's a seatbelt on us. You know, somebody might be pointing a gun right at us right now, ready to shoot. But regardless if you have one in the chamber or not, you're gonna get killed right there because his gun's already drawn. There's nothing you could do. Or even if somebody comes at you with a knife, I don't care if you got one in the chamber or not, you're not going to be able to draw the gun in time because he's going to be stabbing you before you even get close to drawing the gun. You need to handle the knife fight. You know, you got to disarm the individual or distract them before you can pull out your firearm. Alright, so, I mean, that's just what I got to say. You know, the people make their own decision, but I don't feel it's right for anybody to talk down on people that decide not to have one in the chamber. These people are just, to me, they're being safer. And there's nothing wrong with being safe. And then there's millions of people out there that don't even carry guns at all. And then it's like talking down on them that they're stupid because they don't have a gun. But then next thing you know, the person that's talking trash, whatnot, ends up killing himself through suicide, or somebody gets a hold of a gun and kills a family member, or he ends up shooting, killing somebody unjustified, ends up in jail for the rest of his life. You know, it's just like, it's a debate that could go back and forth forever, but I just want to highlight, the benefits of just being intelligent, being safer, when you decide to carry a firearm. Now, I'm just going to make a quick demo at the end of this video to show the difference of how quick the response time is. I'm going to draw my gun with one in the chamber, and then drawing one without one in the chamber, and then racking it back to see how quick it is. You can time it for yourself to see how much of a difference it is and how tactical it is to have one in the chamber. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. All right.